Hey everybody, welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I know I'm a couple minutes late. We've had a really good track record of starting on time, except for that one time that I needed help moving a treadmill. So I apologize for being a couple minutes late tonight, but as you can see, I may or may not have gotten caught in the rain with a dog that may or may not have wanted to pee and poop outside. What's going on, kitty? Hey, Ash. Hey, Mariah, what's going on, Rick? And so I thought, it would probably be a smart idea. Hey, Mimi, what's going on, Billy? Hey, Joe, I thought it would be a good idea to take Wednesday out before we started talking tonight so that I wouldn't find a little pile of pug poop when we got done. And, well, let's just say she wanted to be very picky. Pugs don't like to get their paws wet, and they're very picky about where they go to the bathroom. And sometimes it takes a really long time. So now I'm soaked. Of course, my dog is dry because I took that dog chamois towel that I have for her, and now she got her cookie and she's napping. And I'm the one sitting here soaking wet. So cheers to that. I had to dig out another Skull mug. This one's gray because the one I used last night for Fernandez's delicious sangria was still in the dishwasher because I forgot to run it last night. So cheers, everybody. How are we holding up today? As the title of this video says, last night I had incredibly horrible insomnia. I have been battling insomnia on and off through this whole thing. And so last night I decided to go back and count how many times we have met for Cocktails in the War Room. And tonight is the 45th time, which I could not believe. Now, I've read a lot of things that say that it takes 45 days or 45 times of doing something for it to become a habit. Like you haven't really quit smoking until you've gone 45 days or, 45 days of a diet before it becomes habit or whatever. So I guess we now are officially a habit because this is the 45th Cocktail in the War Room, which I cannot complain. Christina says, ugh, me too, Sunday night insomnia. I've had it really bad the last 4 days. Not being able to fall asleep until almost the sun comes up. Early on, remember when I decided to rewatch every Deadly Pandemic movie and then I couldn't sleep? Well, I obviously stopped doing that. Last night I watched The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, who I love so much, and was tweeting about it actually. It's such a guilty pleasure movie for me. Gene Hackman's in it. I just love that movie. But I've been watching stuff like that before I go to bed to try and not watch anything that's going to freak me out. I don't want to watch the news before I go to bed. And so if I just watch something that's like super mellow and just a funny kind of, whatever movie, I was hoping that would kind of help me sleep. And the last 3 or 4 days, that has just not been the case. I am having a really, really, really hard time sleeping. And I'm still waking up at the same time. I wake up basically at 9:30 or roundabout every morning without an alarm clock because what do I need an alarm clock for? I can get up whenever the hell I want or whenever my pug yells at me because she needs to go outside. So no matter what time I go to bed, like last night, I fell asleep just before 5 o'clock in the morning and I woke up, I think at 9:45 today or something. And I'm not, Chris says I'm turning into a vampire. Could totally be for sure. But I'm not sleeping during the day. I'm not napping. I'm trying to be super productive all day, although it's a hell of a lot harder when it's pouring friggin' rain and freezing cold. And I know that it's days like today that make it even harder, especially when you're home with kids or you're isolated by yourself, that it's just cold and rainy and gray and depressing and the exact recipe for amazing grunge music because it just sucks. And I know that warm weather is coming. I looked at the extended forecast and it's supposed to be like 70 degrees and sunny by Sunday. But today it just sucked. And so I stayed in the house. Like I said, Wednesday has not wanted to go outside. Kara says I should take Benadryl. Karina says, don't forget Metallica Mondays tonight. Yes, Metallica has a different like live concert that starts at 8 o'clock every night, which is very cool. A lot of bands are actually digging stuff out of their archives, which is awesome. I love seeing all of these, acoustic performances. I saw Tommy Vext live on Instagram, Tommy from Bad Wolves earlier today. I love that everybody's kind of doing some kind of version of this where it makes things, super personal. Eric wants to know if Keanu Reeves is my hall pass. He's on the list, for sure. I have 3. Say we were playing spades for the hall pass list. I have 3 and a P. So my 3 hall pass guys are Keanu Reeves, number 1, The Rock. Now I know that he is married to a local girl, so I don't want to be disrespectful. I have just always said that I just always wanted to know what The Rock smells like. I just want to kind of hang out with him. Definitely want to drink his new tequila with him, although bad things happen around me when I drink tequila. But I've just always loved The Rock. And then Alexander Skarsgård is another favorite. He played Eric on True Blood. He was the staff sergeant in Generation Kill, which is a miniseries on HBO that if you have not watched, it is a miniseries about, it was on HBO, and it's a miniseries about the Marines' push into Baghdad after 9/11, like after the Gulf War started. And the reason why I love it so much, besides the cast and whatever, is that the miniseries is based on the writings of a Rolling Stone reporter that was embedded with these guys. And it's not the exact same thing. Obviously, I was embedded with the Army, not the Marines. I didn't work for Rolling Stone. I worked for WAAF. But the moments in Generation Kill are so representative of what my experience was like overseas. The moments in the convoys and the ball busting and, the quiet moments when you're just sitting around shooting the shit or playing cards. It's a fantastic miniseries. If you haven't seen it, it's really, really good. So Alexander Skarsgård is on there. And then my nerd crush is Jeff Goldblum, which I've taken a lot of crap for over the years. There's something about Jeff Goldblum ever since I saw him in The Big Chill, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, but definitely sexy leather-wearing Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. So those are my hall pass guys. A lot of people loving True Blood. I loved that show. Jeff loved it. Mark says sleep is highly overrated. Usually, Ben says Generation Kill. I love that. I thought you liked that dude from Jurassic Park, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, I just told you he's my nerd crush. I love him. But so I've been trying to rewatch some of these mindless movies at night. That's why I was watching The Replacements last night. Shane Falco. Plus, I'm noticing that I'm being more drawn to sports movies because there's no sports to watch. And so, whether it's movies like Major League or Rudy or Remember the Titans, I just love all of those kind of movies. And because I'm not watching sports at all like I normally would be, Any Given Sunday I love. It just, I've been watching a lot of sports movies. But late at night, I've been trying to watch movies that I've seen 1,000 times, hoping it would just make me fall asleep. And that's not working either. So Karina says, so many possible insomnia solutions. Sometimes it seems like nothing works. Sending empathy, tough times right now. Yeah, it's just really... It's really strange. William says, I love The Replacements too. It's just kind of mindless ridiculousness. And I love it. The program is great. Slapshot is great. Hoosiers, fantastic. Any Given Sunday we were just talking about. There are just so many, there's so many good sports movies. Heidi says Alexander Skarsgård is going to be doing a Viking reboot. I support, it's supposed to be Ragnar something. I think she's getting her ass kicked by autocorrect right now. Jessica says Varsity Blues. Marcy says Fever Pitch. Did you watch Friday Night Lights? Way back in the day, but I haven't gone back and watched it. The Longest Yard is great. Krista says sleep is extremely overrated, says the person with the circadian rhythm disorder. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm trying to figure it out. I definitely don't want to be self-medicating to try and sleep. Bad News Bears Original, says super producer Mike. Blueberry Cobbler to you, Mike. Bull Durham is awesome. Al says just binged Outer Banks on Netflix. That is a pretty good series. Goon, hell yeah, it's so good. Oh, The Blind Side. Major League 1 and 2, although I do prefer 1, but it's fine. Brian's Song. So there are a lot of really good ones, but I am definitely battling a lot of different things right now. Insomnia, a little bit of the social isolation I know is having an effect on me. Obviously, struggling to move my career forward in the loss of the radio station, which I can't believe, it's been a couple of months. AAF's last day on the air was February 21st, and now it's already April 27th. I can't believe that. Field of Dreams, that's another one I love. Independence Day. Love me some Jeff Goldblum smoking a cigar. So it's just weird that, on one hand, I feel like time is going so super slow, and on the other hand, it's been over 2 months since the radio station was done, and I can't believe it. It's crazy. So I know it's not just me. I definitely know that when the warmer weather is here, when the sun is out, getting a chance to go out into the yard and get some projects done around the house that I haven't had a chance to do, I'm really looking forward to it. I have a giant mound of bark mulch in my driveway right now that I can't wait to tackle and just kind of get some stuff done. And I can't wait to plant all my vegetables in my garden. I'm really jonesing to go skydiving, which I can't do right now. And so I know a lot of my fellow skydivers, we kind of look forward to it all winter long, and we are really a family, and in the off season we keep in touch online and whatever, but it's not the same as getting to spend those amazing sun-filled weekends jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I did make the call to pull my motorcycle out of storage. I have spoken about this many times here in the War Room and talked about it on the air too before, that I'm still very nervous on my motorcycle since my accident in 2015. And one of the things I don't like to do is I don't like to ride in April. There's so much sand on the road. There are so many huge potholes from the snow and the plowing that I usually don't ride very much until May anyway. So I did call to have my bike pulled out of storage, and I should have it, I believe, this weekend or next week. And that's going to be kind of a perfect activity for me to kind of be able to get out, social distance, get out on the road and just go for a little ride. Ben's asking if I scuba dive. I have gone scuba diving before. What I really need is a winter or indoor hobby, because I already have a motorcycle and skydiving that I want to do during warm weather. And they're both activities that you can do when you travel. I love scuba diving. I think it's awesome. I've gone to resorts in the Caribbean and gotten the day certification to be able to go scuba diving and snorkeling. And I love doing all of that. But I love skydiving so much that I really don't want to take up any sunny time off that I have in the summertime to kind of go and do anything else. Lots of bikes out at Hampton last weekend, says John. I'm sure there was. And, getting back on my bike, I have a lot of friends that ride as well, and they've been like, hey, we could go and just get on the bikes and go for a scenic ride, and, we wouldn't really be in any kind of danger or whatever. So I'm really, no, Wednesday does not ride the motorcycle with me, Tony. She's actually afraid of it. She does not like loud noises, the beeping of trucks backing up. She hates the motorcycle. Melissa, I am not going to learn needlepoint. The other thing maybe you guys don't know about me is that I have zero friggin' patience. Needlepoint is not an activity that is going to be relaxing for me. It'll probably just freak me out. Jeff says, do you play guitar? No. So I've worked in the music business for almost 30 years. I have zero music ability. I was in the band growing up, and I played the clarinet and I played drums, but not well. I would love to be someone that was locked in their house that had a drum set up or a guitar. I have taken lessons. I have tried. That is not my strength. I have a good ear, I've been told, where I can hear a good song. I can hear talent in a band. I can listen to an album and tell you what I think the singles should be. I can tell you what bands are good live and tell you who has the personality to be like an epic frontman, all of that kind of stuff. But I don't have any kind of musical ability whatsoever, and I am so jealous of the people that do. So, I am kind of envious of the people that are finding things to keep themselves occupied in the house. I enjoy reading, but only a little, and I have to be in the mood for it. So I bought this trilogy of books because I watched the first season of the TV show called A Discovery of Witches, which is all about witches and vampires and demons and whatever, which is like so right up my alley. The books are all this thick, each one of them. It came in this box, and I was like, holy crap, how much reading do I have to do? So, to be honest, I've been a little intimidated by this giant stack of books that's sitting on my bedside table, and I haven't started reading. But if this insomnia thing doesn't clear up sooner than later, I think I'm going to start tackling these books just to see if it'll knock me out. Because one of the other things that I do indoors, obviously during the winter, that I do it to relieve stress, and also just because I love it, and it's how I show love, is I love to cook. And so right now, obviously, there's really nobody to cook for because you're not having gatherings. And also, I'm trying to be super responsible with money because, my financial future is very unknown because the radio station is off the air and the music industry is on its ear right now. I would love very much, if I were working right now and had had confidence that financially I was going to be okay, I would turn my kitchen into a pseudo restaurant, and I'd be out buying groceries like crazy and, making meals for health workers and whatever. But at the same time, I have to be careful about the money that I'm spending. And so it's like, that's the indoor hobby that I love so much is to cook. And obviously cooking requires you to go out of the house and go to the supermarket and get the ingredients. And a lot of ingredients like yeast are hard to find. So one of the things I love to do, I can't really do the way I would want to do it. I love doing it in the wintertime. I cook a ton, especially around the holidays, because my family is always at my house. So I know that, I'm bake more cookies, says Heinz. Seriously, those anise cookies that I made to look like the coronavirus, the last one was gone today. My cousins were treating my driveway like a drive-through, picking up, turkey soup from Christmas and cookies and some of my tomato sauce. And you could buy cookies for me. Again, buying the baking stuff and whatever. But, that would be great for my psyche, I think. If I grew up in a bakery. For anybody that doesn't know that, I grew up working in my grandfather and my dad's bakery. And so baking, tens of dozens of cookies a day and, hundreds of loaves of bread. Like, that's what I grew up doing. So I don't look at it as being something, like Eric says, I've seen your, 4,646,000 cookies. But I love to cook like that, My neighbors love my Christmas cookies and were very happy that my Christmas cookies were getting delivered in April. My favorite thing to cook, somebody asked, Italian stuff. Like, I love to make raviolis. I love to make lasagna. I love to stand over a stove and stir my tomato sauce from tomatoes I grew in my garden. I love making, those cookies and bread and like homemade pizza. That's all the stuff I grew up eating. So it's stuff that I love cooking. No, I did not go and buy the horse poop out in West Brookfield today. It was so cold and pouring, and I just didn't want to go outside today. I just was tired and cold and just didn't want to leave the house. And looking at the forecast, I'm hoping in the next couple days I might be able to go and take a ride and get some compost and stuff from my garden, which would be great. Somebody asking about my grandfather's bakery. My grandfather owned a bakery in Leominster for years and years and years called Tony's Bakery, that closed after I got out of college. But it was there, from like the mid 60s until, the mid 90s or something like that. Yes, Tony, I make fresh pasta and it's good. I make really good portobello mushroom raviolis that are fantastic. So no, I didn't leave the house today, and the insomnia has been kind of nasty. So I just hung out with Wednesday all day. She really wanted to snuggle today. She took a nap on my lap most of the day, and I had a chance to watch a lot of the news today, which was probably not great for my psyche either. But to run down some of the things that did happen today, just to kind of keep you guys up to date, the stay-at-home order in Massachusetts is supposed to go until next week, May 4th. We're supposed to get an update from the governor by later this week as to if that's going to be extended or not. Mayor Walsh is saying that Boston is not going to reopen on May 4th. So it sounds like at least the city of Boston is planning on extending the stay-at-home order. But what's going to happen in Massachusetts, we should find out by the end of the week. 9,255 new tests were administered in the last 24 hours. There were 1,524 new cases, which means that they are at a positivity rate of people being tested at about 17% test positive. There have been 55,000 cases overall, and overall the average of people being tested in the Commonwealth that are coming up positive are about 23%. There are currently 3,879 people in the hospital, which averages somewhere between 7 and 10% of the people that are positively diagnosed with the coronavirus right now. And total in Massachusetts, 244,887 people have been tested. Now, the governor says that the curve is here, and we are on the flat part of the apex right now. However, they do expect that when it begins to fall, it's going to be on a very slow, gradual decline when it comes to positive testing and hospitalizations. They did also say that we have had 3,003 fatalities so far here in Massachusetts, with the expansion of the healthcare system in Mass, which is already pretty extensive. But between the BCEC being turned into Boston Hope Hospital, the DCU Center, our capacity for beds for hospitalization in Massachusetts is 18,300. Right now, 56% of those are open. And one of the things that the governor was very serious about talking about was that there is a fear that people who are feeling chest pains or abnormally ill in non-coronavirus ways, where you could be showing signs of a gallbladder or spleen issue or appendicitis or a possible heart attack or a mild stroke or blood clot or something like that, where you're kind of noticing that something could be wrong with you, but you're purposefully avoiding going to the hospital because you're fearful of the coronavirus and you're fearful of overtaxing the healthcare system. He was very quick to say, please don't do that. That they are able to process people in emergency rooms for non-COVID symptoms and emergencies, and that they have the staff, the PPE, and they said there's been 6.5 million pieces of PPE delivered here in the Commonwealth. So by all means, if you are feeling just not right, like Jared said, my grandma just tested negative, fantastic. Malcolm says the ER is a ghost town because people are afraid. So if you are not feeling right and you think, especially, if you are diabetic or you smoke or you might be overweight or you have a history of heart issues or high blood pressure, anything that you're you're going to be your best advocate. And if you think that something might be wrong, that even if it's not coronavirus related, do not stay home and avoid going to get something checked out. They still are able to diagnose things like cancer and heart attacks, and they are really pushing for people to be very self-aware and to have faith in the healthcare system, that they're functioning right now with the capability of handling non-COVID issues. So please go to the doctors if you need to. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting was the role of the Massachusetts National Guard and the soldiers that have been activated and the role that they're playing. I know a lot of the guys that I was in Afghanistan with that are still serving. I was really curious kind of what those guys are doing. One of the things that I thought was fantastic is that they did realize, obviously, that people that are most susceptible to this virus, obviously, are people that are in assisted living and nursing homes and life care facilities. And so one of the things that they did was organize and mobilize the Massachusetts National Guard to be a mobile testing unit. And they have been going to these facilities so that the patients don't need to be taken outside. And they have been able to go to these facilities, nursing homes, all of that, and be able to test the patients inside and the staff so that they can control and detect if staff members are bringing this virus into the confines of the nursing homes. And they have been able to administer over 18,300 tests just for staff and residents of these nursing homes, and that they're able to move the testing facility. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew what our troops are doing that have been activated. And I wanted to cheers to those guys sorry, I just lost my network for a second. I just really wanted to pay close attention and to really show that our soldiers in Massachusetts right now are taking care of those that are most at risk and most vulnerable, which is why I have always said that all of our uniformed branches of service, that's the oath they take, is to take care of the vulnerable. And that's part of what makes them, in my opinion, so brave and noble, is that they stand up for people that may be too weak to stand up for themselves. And that is the glorious history of our military in general. But I take specific pride in how our local soldiers are helping local residents, which is the exact role of the National Guard. So to all of the people that are in the Guard, to anyone that has someone living, a loved one living in an assisted care facility or a nursing home, I hope it helps you sleep a little bit better to know that they should be taken care of by the Guard and that they're being looked after. And so I just really want to make sure that everybody, because sometimes these things don't get covered in the media, and I think it's really important to make sure that that's what these guys are doing. They do their day jobs, and then it's not just a 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year kind of thing. I bet there's a lot of Guard soldiers that have been activated from possibly higher paying jobs in their day jobs to go and do their duty activated with the National Guard to go and help those people. And they deserve, at least our appreciation and respect. And I think it's fantastic. So cheers to you guys. You guys are my heroes. I love you guys, but you know that. They have also said that Vermont and New Hampshire should be, according to the numbers, past the surge. Rhode Island is expecting its surge next week. And the governor was saying that we should still continue to stay home, social distance, and wear the masks outside the house, especially when social distancing isn't possible. And that he has also been in very close contact with all of the governors in the region. And it sounds like all of the states in the Northeast are communicating regularly, and they are going to be working on plans. If New Hampshire starts opening up before us, that was one of the concerns that the governors are all talking about, is to make sure that New Hampshire doesn't make things worse for Massachusetts and vice versa. So this was one of the other really interesting things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. As you can tell, I watched the news a lot today just because I've been trying to avoid it a lot the last few days. 40%, this number blew my mind. 40% of the people that have been testing positive show no symptoms at all. And they're saying that there are people, Governor Baker was really grilled by some of the reporters about the antibody test versus the actual viral testing. And what he was saying is the antibody tests are just going to tell us who's had it. But without the viral testing, the actual testing of who's got it, it's going to be harder to stop. They have not proven yet that if you've had it, you can't ever get it again. They are still doing all of that research. But what I found fascinating was that 40% of the positive cases are coming from people that are asymptomatic. So they don't even know, they don't have a fever, they're not losing their sense of smell, they're not achy, they're not having respiratory issues. They're walking around with the virus and they don't even know it. And a lot of people are testing positive and then never getting sick, ever. You could be asymptomatic and then get sick, after 5 days or 10 days or whatever. But there is a significant amount of people that are testing positive that never, ever get sick from this. And they're just carriers. And that was scary to me and fascinating to me. So that's kind of all of the official information that I kind of wanted to pass down to you guys today. I really wanted to pay close attention to everything that was kind of going on in Massachusetts. So for anybody that's not in Mass, I'm sorry if I bored you with that. But as one of the other things that the governor said, is that 50% of the fatalities in the United States are shared between 4 states, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Illinois. He said then there are about 10 states that share about 25 to 30% of the remaining fatalities. And then there is the other 36 states that share the other 20% of fatalities. Pardon me if my math, my percentages are a little bit off. So when he was asked about pressure to reopen and if that pressure were the same as some of the states down south where they're seeing major protests, he was like, I can understand why those governors are seeing pressure because they may have an extremely small percentage. But when he told me that 50% of the fatalities were shared between those 4 states and we're one of them, obviously New York being the most hard hit, and then that, it was 25 to 30% shared amongst 10 other states. When you start looking at the math, it really kind of opened my eyes to how some people in other parts of the country really don't think that, it's as bad. And how, 1,000 miles in any direction from Massachusetts, your perspective could be greatly altered just because you're not seeing it outside your door every day. And I thought that was really interesting as well. So I just kind of wanted to pass all of that stuff on to you guys. I try not to dwell on all of this stuff, but at the same time, we also just can't, ignore it because obviously it's all of these numbers that are going to be the thing that stands in between us being on our couch for the 45th night in a row in the war room and being able to go outside and try to enjoy some kind of summer weather or whatever. Shouldn't we all be tested if 40% are asymptomatic, Sandy? Yeah, and they're ramping up testing more and more, but that's part of the issue is, that I should have written down where I got that statistic. I can't remember if it was the states, if it was Governor Baker that said that, or if it was something that I read, or if it was part of the president's briefing later on this afternoon, but I keep this notebook by the television and I just write stuff down when I hear it that I think you guys might be interested in. So there you go. That's my news brief for the day. Cheers. Oh, if today is your birthday, not only are you celebrating your birthday on the 45th day of Cocktails in the War Room, but you also share your birthday with Ace friggin' Frehley. So happy birthday to you. Fantastic. I appreciate all the comments about my reporting. Ben says you need to train all of the news anchors how to deliver the news without provoking fear. My reporting is top class. Well, thank you very much. I'm not going to wear those stupid friggin' dresses that the reporters wear. I don't want to have my hair done up in those big things. If I could wear this badass Beatles shirt that I'm wearing right now and deliver the news with purple hair, maybe I found a new career. But unless I can do the news like this, I really don't have any interest in wearing those ridiculous dresses, and especially the shoes. I fucking hate wearing high heel shoes more than anything. That's why I think Maria Stefanos has got it figured out, because she wears the boots, and the boots are badass. But I hate wearing high heel shoes. I get blisters. My foot doesn't like it. It hurts my back. I think they're hot. I love how high heels make you look. I think they're sexy as shit. I hate the fact that they make me so uncomfortable, but they do. That's why I wear boots all the time. But, if anybody's watching this from any of the television news stations and you're looking for a non-fear-mongering, purple-haired rock chick that will just talk about facts and not try to separate Americans on one side or the other and make people afraid to breathe in and out and open their eyeballs, then you know what? You know where I am. Every night at 8:30, I'm right here. Can I drink Fernandez's sangria while I deliver the news on TV? Because that would be awesome. Can you imagine if like you're watching the news and all of a sudden they were like, hold on, I got to do a shot before I can talk about this shit. I would watch that news channel every day. That would be amazing. Edwin says he would hire me in a minute. Do the news topless like other countries. No, I'm good. You guys have seen me topless in the Mantown calendars. You know my boobs are perfect. I don't need to show them to you again. High heel slippers at home, says Victa. So let's go over a drink recipe first here in the War Room. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you this Beatles t-shirt. I can't remember if I wore it for you guys or not, but I was watching an interview today with Ringo Starr because they did that Yellow Submarine sing-along thing at noon on Saturday for kids that are home. And I just thought it was really cool. I love this shirt for a bunch of different reasons, but one of the reasons why I love it so much is that it's printed even up on the collar and all the way down the sleeve. I mean, it literally looks like I'm wearing a white t-shirt and someone's projecting the image onto me because it goes all the way down the bottom edge of the shirt. And it's just friggin' cool, and the Beatles are my favorite band, so that's why I wore this shirt today. It's one of my favorites. Shots with the news, Deanna. I'm telling you, it's a thing. Boots all day, every day, yes. Mariah wants to know what countries read the news topless, because obviously Edmund says, I tried, guys. That's a valiant effort, Ed. You can't say you didn't try. You did try. It's just not going to happen. Mark says, new mug, mini pearl version. Is there a sticker on the bottom? Yeah, there is a sticker on the bottom. I said that I had to dig this out from the back of the cabinet because the mug that I used last night is still dirty because I didn't wash it. So I dug this one out, and I apologize for anyone who's being driven crazy by the sticker on the bottom of the mug. These are gray tinted, where the one I was drinking out of last night was clear, but that one's kind of smoky gray. Rick says I have a Sgt. Pepper shirt similar to that one. Yeah, the all over print is excellent, Ron. Like, it's just really cool. I love people that make merch because merch is part of how bands and artists are able to make money right now. They're obviously not making enough record sales anymore. And you really have to oversaturate the market like a Taylor Swift level to make any money on streaming. So the way that bands obviously make money is through touring and selling merch. And I love artists that are really creative with their merch. I have no problem turning over money to buy a really cool piece of merch from a band or an artist that I love. And if you want to support your favorite band right now, one of the easiest and best ways that you can do that is to go on their website and buy a piece of merch from them, because you're going to get it and it's going to help the band generate revenue. Tommy Vex was talking about that from Bad Wolves today on Instagram Live, because they started doing Patreon stuff. And he was talking about the need to have to do that because they've got a crew and they've got people that they need to pay. And they, you know, Bad Wolves are one of those bands that just tours constantly. And so the band has started doing these videos and all of this extra content for their Patreon fans to be able to raise money, to be able to kind of take care of the Bad Wolves camp. Bad Wolves is also a band that has fantastic merch. They just have really cool stuff. Same thing with Five Finger Death Punch. They just have really cool stuff. So if you want to support a band that you love, especially, we've talked about this before, but especially if you have somebody's birthday coming up and you need a gift, go to their favorite band's website, order merch, and have it sent right to their house. First of all, you don't have to wrap the shit, which is great. Second of all, you're supporting the band. And third of all, you're getting something that you know the person you're buying it for is going to love it. So, you know, I hope my mom sees this and knows that she's probably going to get like a Slipknot t-shirt for Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Let's see. There is a drink in here called a Bronx View. And this is gin, 1 2/3 ounces, Why can't they just make it 2 ounces? Seriously. Like, that extra third of an ounce of gin is going to knock off the recipe all that much. There's an ounce of dry vermouth, a third of an ounce of Rose's lime cordial. Shake the ingredients and then strain into a cocktail glass and serve. And that's called a Bronx View. And I wanted to read that one because not only are there a lot of people that I know are watching these videos that are from the New York and New Jersey area, but also because a lot of my college friends are down in that area. They had come to Boston to go to school and then went back to New York and New Jersey. And it's been really great getting back in touch with all of them and getting in these Zoom chat rooms with all of the people that we haven't all been together since we lived in the dorms together in the early 90s. And we are still, no dairy or eggs, exactly. And we still keep in touch, and quite a few of them have had the virus. Quite a few of them have had family members have the virus. A couple of them have lost family members. And so, you know, there are just a lot of people that I love that are down in the epicenter of all of this, that are healthcare workers down in New York and New Jersey. I don't know if you guys heard this story today, but there's a reason why I'm constantly giving you like the suicide hotline numbers and stuff. Did you hear the story about the emergency room doctor from New York's Presbyterian Hospital that has been treating COVID patients? She tested positive. She got over the virus. She went back to work. I think her family was a little bit worried, and they invited her to go down to, I think it was Virginia or the Carolinas, I can't remember. And she killed herself on Sunday. She wasn't even 50 years old, and she did not have a history of mental illness. And this is a frontline, I mean, she's a doctor that was treating COVID patients in New York's Presbyterian Hospital. And over the weekend, she killed herself. They didn't say how, but they said it was self-inflicted. And it just, Michael says that an FDNY medic took his life as well. I cannot stress enough how much of an issue this is going to be. And I can tell you from the number of funerals I've been to for veterans and service members, the families that I have seen shattered because of it, and the staggering statistics in our veterans community. The suicide epidemic is horrific. And I am so afraid for our healthcare workers and first responders who are dealing with things. And obviously we know it's regional because there are doctors in New York City that are seeing things that a doctor in Oklahoma can't even fathom, you know, and that we're seeing more and more is part of the problem, is that we're not all as Americans experiencing this thing at the same time and in the same way. There are some states that had a little bit of a bump in cases and it's already gone, and they're like, just let me go and get a haircut. And then there are doctors that are literally killing themselves. And I am so afraid of what the ramifications are going to be 6 months from now from this. And then in the fall, if it comes back and we get the flu simultaneously, we have got to make it a priority to talk about mental health, to talk about suicide, and to get these people whatever resources they need. We cannot afford our healthcare workers and our first responders to get to the point that our veterans community got to. That is already inexcusable and beyond tragic, that we have asked so much from our service members, and that epidemic ever got to that point. We should know how to do this by now, and we should be better at it. And it's something that we need to make sure. I really hope that all of the people that are making these decisions are taking this into account and putting precautions in place now. That these doctors coming off of these long marathon shifts, you know, they've got to have everything from support groups and comfort animals and mandatory counseling, or there's got to be something that before we start losing these people that are literally saving lives every day. Suzanne says, my sister left me 6 months ago, and it leaves such a bottomless pit. I remember after I came home from Afghanistan in 2011, I went to 5 funerals within the calendar year after I came home. And I'm not talking about going to Staff Sergeant Grace's funeral because he died of cancer. I'm talking about suicides. And also, you know, people that are dealing with PTSD tend to self-medicate, and our healthcare workers have access to things that could help them in that. And I really, really hope that things are being put in place that we're going to be able to pull these guys back from the edge of this pit that we're asking them to work on every day, because it's incredibly scary. And we all need to really keep an eye. If you've got a loved one or a friend from high school or somebody that you know is putting on scrubs and has an N95 mask standing between sickness and health, I mean, literally, we got to do everything we can to make sure they know they're supported, because we can't afford to start losing these people. You know, it broke my heart when I saw that story on the news today. So I will give out all of those numbers again. Let me go back to my page that I have all of those numbers on here. Obviously, I'm reminding you to give blood if you can. Please make an appointment, download the Red Cross blood donation app, and definitely go and make an appointment to give blood if you can, if you're healthy enough, if you meet all the criteria that you can find on their website, and just go and do it, because they really need the donations. Oh, where did I write all of those numbers down? I have a whole page with all of these numbers. I can't wait to get this stand that I ordered. It's supposed to come in before the end of April, they said. So I have a stand that I'm getting that will mount my phone, and it'll also give me a little bit better light so that I either don't look orange or like the Crypt Keeper, or it just depends on how the light is in here. Okay, so here's all the resources and all of the numbers that you need. mass.gov/COVID-19 is where you want to go in Massachusetts to get all of the updates and everything you need. SafeLink, which is the toll-free number if you're having any kind of domestic issues at home, any kind of domestic abuse. You want to call SafeLink, 877-785-2020. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Write it down. Put it in a memo on your phone. Just keep this information handy. I'm not saying that I'm afraid for you. I think that all of us that are meeting every day and kind of talking about things, we know that we have an outlet, and we know, like we talked about last night, that we have a support network and that we've got a social structure here in the War Room. But there are a lot of people that don't have that. And these resources, if you have them at the ready for somebody that you think might need them, it could really change things. The suicidepreventionlifeline.org website is where you want to go if you want to go online. There is the Nursing Home Family Resource Line, which was set up for Massachusetts family members of those that are in assisted living and life care. That number is 617-660-5399. So there you go on that. I totally slacked and did not pick out something to show you guys in the War Room tonight. I was so busy trying to get Wednesday to poop outside, and she kept me out there forever. It was like she kept spinning and wanting to sniff every leaf and couldn't find the place to poop right. And I'm just getting dumped on by the rain. And I'm like watching the clock, and it's like 8:24, 8:25, 8:26. She's sniffing 7 more leaves, sniffing this blade of grass. She finally pooped, which I'm sure you're going to sleep so well tonight knowing that she did. But it was like, enough already. Oh, I know what I'm going to show you guys. Oh, remember when we could stand up and not make grunting noises? Okay. So I've talked to you guys about my grandfather that was in World War II in Korea, that was in the Navy. Here in Leominster, there is a gazebo in Carter Park, and they sold bricks for veterans. And you could pay money and they would make a brick that has your veterans' loved ones' information on there. And so we had bricks made not only for my grandfather, but also for my great-grandfather, who served in World War I. And so I have pictures of the bricks that I keep here in the war room. So my great-grandfather, Harold Bassett Sr., was a private in World War I. It says PW Postcom 1934. I don't even know what that means. Like I said, the research that I've been doing into my family's history in the military is still incomplete. And then there's my grandfather, Harold Bassett Jr., who was a radio operator in the Navy in World War II and in Korea. And he was on the USS Biloxi in World War II, which spent its time in the South Pacific, and they called it the Busy Bee because I believe they were gone for 2 years. And my grandfather was the Morse code guy. And I know that part of what he did was he was in the communication chain between the Navy and then the code talkers and then the Morse code, and he was in that. So I keep this framed, and it's my great-grandfather and my grandfather's bricks that are in the Veterans Park here in Leominster, where I grew up. And, you know, I go down there every once in a while, and as the bricks age, they become a little bit harder to read. But Leominster also does this amazing thing down in the center of town where families can buy banners that go on the light post through the center of town with a picture of your veteran and your loved one in uniform. And it tells like the branch of the military that they served in or whatever. And so my grandfather has had his banner up downtown for a few years now, which we're really proud of that as well. So I don't know if my grandfather joined the Navy to spite my great-grandfather who was in the Army. I'm not really sure exactly what led him to that decision. But I was very surprised because my grandfather was such a proud Navy man, and I have a couple cousins that followed in his footsteps in the Navy. But I was surprised to find out that my great-grandfather actually served in the Army, and I kind of thought that that was kind of hilarious. With all those rivalries and such. So this is just one of the little family mementos that I kind of keep around the house, and you know, getting really good photos of the bricks because they're all faded was a little bit difficult, but I just love knowing that they're down there, and that, you know, all of those veterans that are on the walk, that my grandfather and my great-grandfather are part of it. So my grandfather was stationed in North Korea, but it was after the war, says Damien. Let's see. Morse code guys really know how to communicate. I get what you did there, Michael. My grandfather, remember when we were kids and you could buy walkie-talkies and they had the Morse code guide on the walkie-talkie? So my grandfather used to babysit me and my cousins a lot. And he would take the walkie-talkies and he would send us out into the yard. And then I look at it now, and it was freaking genius. Now, maybe I'm giving you a tip for something you could do with your kids right now while you guys are locked up together. But my grandfather would sit in the house, probably in his recliner watching Benny Hill for all I know, because that's what he used to do. But he would sit there with one of the walkie-talkies, right? And then me and my cousins would run around the yard and we would go hide someplace. And then my grandfather would Morse code us messages. And then we would have to figure out what he said and then message back to him. Now, he could bust out Morse code in like no time flat. We would be trying to transcribe it on like a scrap of paper or like writing in the dirt with a stick. And then we would have to sit there and write out what we were going to write back. So there's my grandfather, probably in 5 seconds, like do, 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 put the walkie-talkie down, watch TV for a half hour while his grandkids are out in the yard somewhere trying to figure out A, what he said, and then how to respond. And then, of course, after we went over and over and over, like, you know, probably something ridiculous, like, hi, Papa. And it took us 20 minutes to figure out how to send that back to him. And then he would sit in the room, probably watching Benny Hill still, totally know what we were talking about, and then respond super fast. And then we'd be out there for another half hour. So, you know, I've talked about the tattoo that I have on my arm, which is Morse code, and it's from my grandfather. But maybe if you could order some old school walkie-talkies that have the Morse code guides on them, you could send your kids out in the yard and just hang out at home and Netflix and chill, and send the little bastards out in the yard and just Morse code them all afternoon and keep them busy. Genius. My grandfather was ahead of his time. Genius. I miss him very much. And I love that he's come up so many times when we're in here in the war room talking about different stuff, because I have so many fond memories of my grandfather. I just loved him so much. I'm the oldest. I was the first grandchild. So I spent so much time with him as a kid. And my mom was a nurse, and she used to work 3 to 11. And so on the weekends, because my dad was, before he was on the fire department, before he became a firefighter, he worked in the bakery. So on the weekends, he would have to go into work extremely early in the morning. And then obviously once he became a firefighter, you know, if you were working at the firehouse or whatever, I spent a lot of weekends hanging out with my grandfather. My grandfather used to let me watch Saturday Night Live, like the not ready for prime time players, like the original cast of Saturday Night Live. I used to watch it with my grandfather, like Samurai Delicatessen and like all of that stuff. And he laughed. Benny Hill, same thing. He laughed. And I didn't get half the jokes because I was a kid. But I just look back at a lot of that quality time that I was fortunate enough to spend with him, being the oldest grandchild and having all those memories that I have. And obviously, as you can tell, I'm extremely proud of his military service as well. So I hope my grandfather just gave you guys a genius idea of how to keep your kids occupied and teach them Morse code. Did somebody just, Bob, did you just put a link up for where you can buy walkie-talkies? What are you linking to? I just see that you put a link up there. Mickey says, I'm a ham radio guy, 73 DW1MRJR. I don't even know what that means, but good on you. Yes, Victor, all the Bill Murray stuff, all of that Rita Rudner stuff, and all of that stuff. I loved it. Really, really good memories. Let me know if you guys try the Morse code thing, because if there is a place that you go after you die, if that place is good, my grandfather is there. He was such an amazing guy. He was in 2 wars in the Navy, never got a tattoo. The first time I heard him say a swear was my 21st birthday party. He said shit, and I almost fell over. And it was at the same time that he had the first beer I ever saw him drink. Like, I'm not saying that he didn't have a beer every now and then, but he never did it in front of the kids. He never swore in front of the kids. And so if there is a heaven or whatever it is that you want to call it, my grandfather is there. And he would get such a kick out of you keeping your kids occupied with Morse code. I can't even tell you. Jeff says I light up when I talk about him. The love is serious. I loved my grandfather. My grandmother died when I was 12. And so my grandfather, you know, the whole rest of his life, he never remarried, was just his grandkids. And we just were the lights of his life. And I miss him dearly. Oh my God, I'm getting choked up over here. But he would think it was freaking hilarious that you guys were sending your kids out on like some kind of Morse code scavenger hunt with the walkie-talkies. So see if you can get some, and definitely let me know how that works, because that would just be amazing. Maddie! What's going on, Maddie? I miss you. Figures you show up right when I'm getting ready to tell everybody goodnight. Damn it. I miss you. We got to get on Instagram Live and hang out. If you missed me with Stiz, it was up in my story from yesterday. But so anyway, Morse code. Figure it out with your kids, and then tell me all the stories, because I'm dying to hear about it. Stay safe, guys. You made it through another day. Episode 45 of Cocktails in the War Room. Can you believe this? That we've been doing this long? It's insane. It's crazy. Thank you guys for being with me every night, for listening to my long-winded stories, for being a shoulder for me to cry on, for making me laugh, for honoring me with your time, and for just being amazing. If you're stressed, if you're worried, we're going to get through this together. And I love the fact that you guys keep coming back here every night, because it makes me feel great to be here with you every night. And so I hope it does the same thing for you guys. If you took selfies and stuff tonight, make sure you tweet them at me, at Mistress Carrie on Twitter. Tag me on Instagram, at Mistress Carrie WAF. Stay safe for another day. Selfie pose. Cheers. Okay, you got to send me the pictures, though. I'll be back tomorrow. There is some significant progress in the things that I've been working on that are happening tomorrow. More on that later. All right, good night, guys. I love you. Don't lick anything weird. Wash your damn hands. Meet back here tomorrow night at 8:30. Good night.